Woo! Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Praise the mighty Yah. Great King, Heavenly Father. Thank you. Want to say Torah Yah. Want to thank you for another opportunity to expound upon your knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. Another opportunity to show people your law, statutes, and commandments. Another opportunity to reach the people, the remnant, the chosen people. Another opportunity to be able to say, you put a hand in to the restoration of this nation. Oh, great King, I ask that when I go before your people, first and foremost, Father, that you forgive me for any transgression I may have had against you, Father. And I also ask, great King, that you give me the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding so that way I can break this down and explain it to your liking, Father. I can be pleasing in your sight, oh great King, because we know your opinion is the only opinion that matters, oh great King. I ask that you give me the ability to touch the people, Father, and let this message be heard by the people it's supposed to be heard by. Hallelujah, hallelujah, praise the mighty Yah. Hallelujah, shalom, family. First and foremost, I want to give all honor, praise, glory to Yah Eloheinu Melech HaOlam, founder of living waters, maker, creator, owner, possessor, everything. And besides him, there is no God. Secondly, I want to give due respect to Chief Prince of Poor Baines of Vulu, the founder and leader of Shema Yisrael. Hallelujah, shalom, family. Told out for the late start. We had technical difficulties at the camp, so I had to come do it from my home. And we're back, family. Hope you had a great Chag Matzo, great Feast of Unleavened Bread, great Pesach. I know we were out of action a couple times during that week with the Torah portions. So we're going to pick up where we left off, which is Leviticus 12. If you caught our Torah portions during the Shabbat service, then you understand this is pretty much where we caught up is. This is Tazria, Tazria. And this is talking about leprosy and the plague of leprosy. But I'm going to approach it from a different perspective. Thank the Creator for the wisdom, the knowledge that he's given me, and the understanding that he's given me. It's still about leprosy, but when I read this, I see deeper into the picture. I see how the Creator doesn't judge things on the surface as man does. He judges things from the inside out. Do you follow what I'm saying? So when you're looking at this right here, he's basically telling you, just to give you a summary, because I don't think we're going to be able, with the time constraints that we have to get to every individual part of it. I'm going to do my best to try to touch as much of it as I can. It starts at Leviticus 12:1, and it rounds off at Leviticus 15:1. And in this portion right here, it's really interesting because as I was reading it, I always try to give people the plain and simple information that's right before us on a page, but I also like to make it practical to modern day so people can understand it. Now, understand that I'm not a physician. I don't know the dermatology terms and everything with the skin, but I just want to praise the Most High because as I looked at it and I read it again, I says, well, every time the Most High is saying is something wrong, it's deeper than the surface. And as you look at Israel, it's deeper than the surface with our problems. On surface, we operate every day as if everything is okay, as if everything is fine, as if we are right with the Creator, as if we're in a good space with the Most High, as if we're pleasing to the Most High. But internally, we're rotten, we're leprous, we're not as the Most High would want us to be. Our heart isn't where the Most High will want it to be. So from the Creator judges a man from the inside, as we've seen with the prophet Shemuel and Melech Dawid, everybody was like, look at the brothers. This guy has great stature. This brother has this brother has that. Melech Dawid was just a little lad. He was a little boy. But the Creator saw internally in him. So this right here is really special, family, when we go into it, because I know a lot of portions of the Torah, to some, it's not exciting as others. And what I try to do through the power of the Most High is make everything as evenly exciting, because it made the book for a reason. It's not in the book for no reason. Nothing is here just to be here. So there's always something you could take from it. There's always more that you can get from it. if you want to dig a little deeper, if you want to dedicate yourself. So without further ado, I'm going to go into it, and then I'm going to expound upon my line of thinking with it when we go into this portion, Tazria, which is Leviticus 12:1. And it reads on this wise. And Yah spoke to Moshe, saying, speak to the Israelite people. Thus, when a woman at childbirth bears a male child, she shall be unclean 7 days. She shall be unclean at the time of her menstrual infirmity. On the 8th day, the flesh of his foreskins shall be circumcised. So I'm just going to stop right there because that's the first portion. When a woman gives birth to a male, she's unclean for the whole duration of the time, which is going to be a 40-day process. But the 8th day, the male has to be circumcised because that puts you a part of the covenant with the Creator, as the Most High had told to our father Abraham when we were getting when he first told him to circumcise his people. You're supposed to be circumcised. Circumcision is supposed to be on the 8th day. So to our New Testament followers, always like to go in on this portion right here. Paul says circumcision profits you not. And if you circumcise, then Christ, circumcision, if you're circumcised in Galatians 5:2, then Christ profits you nothing. But here we have another example of the Creator of heaven and earth telling us what he wants us to do and how he wants us to live these things out. So he's telling us on the 8th day to circumcise. Scientifically, when we go into this, because we don't wait for European science to justify what we're doing. When you look into it, on the 8th day, there's a once in a lifetime event. There's a vitamin K spike. Vitamin K, for anybody who knows science, helps your blood from clotting. So if you get circumcised on the 8th day, you'll be less likely to have blood clots, less likely for your children to die from SIDS. But these are things that the Creator had given us 2,300 years ago. This is things that we had before we had a microscope, as Prince Nathaniel always says. So we understand, we follow the wisdom of the book. We understand this makes us look brighter in the sight of the people. We understand, we went over a portion last week where we were talking about pork and ruminant animals and non-ruminant animals. And it shows you the intricacies in the intelligence of the Creator and how he's just so divine. Even though he gave us these animals to eat, he told us which ones we can consume, which ones we can't consume. And science is literally just catching up and finding out that there's no safe temperature to cook pork at without getting rid of disease. That there's no real good benefits from eating these animals. But the Creator had given us a head start on society. The reason why we're behind is because we turned away from the Maker of heaven and earth. Because had we following this, we'd be the vanguards, we'd be the forerunners to everybody in every society. But since we didn't, we're in the state we're into now. So what I try to do, and what we try to do at Shema Israel, is give you the law, statutes, and commandments to help you return on your path back to Creator. Anytime you have a cultural change, anytime you want change, wholesale change, you want wholesale return, you're gonna have to have a cultural change. That means the things that you once praised, you're not gonna have to be able to praise anymore. The things that you look to, that you said, this is good for me, this is good for me, you're not gonna have to look at it that way no more. You're gonna have to come and conform into the Most High's ways. When you go into a job interview, you're basically, even if you're not really that person, you're presenting yourself as that person. But with the Creator, like I said, with this portion right here, he's looking at the inside. So it's not about what you say on this interview. This is an interview for the remnant, but this is the one being, the one omnipresent, omnificent being that can check on the inside to see if you're telling the truth. See, when we go for an interview at the job, you go there, you get nice externally. You put on cologne, you might shave if you into that. You have your hair cut nice. You're talking how you don't normally talk, but that's not the real you. And the Most High, with this portion right here, it's so deep because it ties in perfectly. This gives you a waiting period to see if it's really good or if it's really bad. And that's the same thing. This is the same wisdom and discernment we should use with every phase of our life. Everything or every major decision you have, you should always weigh it out. You should always take time on it. Nothing should be really done in haste outside of serving the Creator. So we're going to go deeper into this because I don't want to get too ahead of myself. I'm speaking before I get to the points, but it's just a really exciting portion. And it reads on this wise. On the 8th day, the flesh of the foreskin shall be circumcised. That's a commandment. She shall remain in a state of blood purification for 33 days. She shall not touch any consecrated thing, this means any holy article, which gives you another context clue that she wouldn't be allowed into the temple, nor into the sanctuary until the period of her purification is completed. If she bears a female, she shall be unclean 2 weeks as during her menstruation, and she shall remain in a state of blood purification for 60 days. So this comes out to 80 days if you have a female. So, brothers, if you have a pregnant Isha, basically the breakdown is you have to stay away from her for 40 days if it's a male, and you have to stay away from her as far as being intimate 80 days if it's a female child. So this is why the men in Israel are praying for boys every time our Ishas get pregnant. And it reads on this wise: on the completion of her period of purification for either son or daughter, she shall bring to the priest at the entrance of the tent of meeting a lamb in its first year for burnt offering, and a pigeon or turtle dove for sin offering. I'm going to stop right there because a lot of people say, well, what do we do about this? The answer is you do absolutely nothing with that, because we don't have the Levitical order set up as it was in this time. When you read in these Torah portions, you have to understand there are certain things that were set for certain times. We don't have the priest. We don't have the Levitical order at this time because we have Kohanim running around here. We may not be able to identify them in this current state that we're in. We're going to know that when we get home, according to the book of Ezekiel. The Most High is going to purify the priests, and they're going to be able to give offerings to the people again. So we don't know for sure who these men are in this current day, and we don't have a temple, and we don't have a tent of meeting. When you go later on into the Torah portion, it's going to say the place where the Lord has chose to set his name. America is the land of our captivity. The Most High did not set his name in Brooklyn. The Most High did not set his name in the Bronx, in Michigan, in Florida, in Oklahoma. The Most High is going to set his name in the temple in the land of Israel when we return, where we're going to be giving up offerings again. So when you see things like this, you have to understand you chew the meat and spit out the bone. This is not something that's applicable in this day and time right here, where we're bringing turtle doves and we're bringing offerings to the priest. That's not acceptable. The Most High said in Hosea 11, you could bring up offerings of your lips. That's an acceptable sacrifice in this time. But in this current time, we are not allowed to give offerings, burnt offerings, sacrifices, anything of that nature. And it reads on this wise: on the completion of her period of purification for son or daughter, she shall bring to the priest at the entrance of the tent of meeting in the first year a burnt offering and a pigeon, a turtle dove for a sin offering. He shall offer it before Yah and make expiation on her behalf. She shall then be clean from her flow of blood. Such as the rituals concerning her who bears a child, male or female. If, however, her means do not suffice for a sheep, she shall take 2 turtle doves or 2 pigeons, one for a burnt offering and the other for a sin offering. The priest shall expedite on her behalf, and she shall be clean. So this is another thing right here that's a real knock to the New Testament. We are not a messianic group here, Shema Yisrael, because that's how the Creator would have us be. Well, I don't like to go into those terms. We don't believe in Christ. Let's not go into non-messianic or non-messy antics. We believe solely in the Creator as he commanded us. Deuteronomy 6:4, Shema Yisrael, Yah Eloheinu, Yah Echad. So you won't hear us referencing the New Testament. Some may refer to it as the Greek scriptures. Some may refer to it as whatever they want to call it. But we do not go by, I like to call it the Greek scriptures too. I like to take a spin on Adon Nasi Kamu and what he calls it. And we don't abide by that. It's a fallacy, it's false. And just for simple things like this, just simple points you can pull out. Now, if the woman has to give a sin offering, and she had to bring a sheep, and she didn't have a sheep, she could bring a turtle dove. If she didn't have a turtle dove, she could bring a pigeon. So you got to understand, if the Most High will chop it down because he understands the plight that you're in. He understands your financial situation. Why would he then allow for human sacrifice? Why would he say, man, human sacrifice doesn't make sense? Let me just give a sheep. You follow what I'm saying? Let me give a turtle dove, or let me bring flour. The Most High is anti-human sacrifice. Therefore, the story of the New Testament is false. We're not going to spend too much time going into that, but this is just to clear the air when it speaks on sacrifices and sin offerings and things of this nature, because over Kagmatsa, we heard a lot of things. We heard that, or Christ is the Passover lamb. However, the Passover lamb was a female. It wasn't a male. So there's so many things and so many doctrinal differences that shows you that this is false. This is not of the Creator. But we're going to get back to this right here. But I always do have to take time to clear that up for new listeners and new viewers, for people who's watching us for the first time. We go solely off the Creator, because that's how the Creator will have us go. In the book of Daniel, he told them to seal the book. Anything after that book is null and void. In the book of Matthew, Mark, Luke, Peter, and the rest of those Greek letters, they are all after that book. So you can't put something new to something the Most High said seal, and that's an addition to the Most High's word. So we in chapter 13, and this is where we really get into the meat and potatoes of this Torah portion. And it says, Yah spoke to Moshe and Aharon. When a person has on his skin of his body a swelling, a rash, or discoloration, and it develops into a scaly affection on the skin of his body, it shall be reported to Aaron the priest, or one of his sons the priest. The priest shall examine the infection of the skin of his body. If the hair in the affected patch has turned white, and affected appears to be deeper than the skin of his body, it is a leprous infection. When the priest sees it, he shall pronounce him unclean. But if it is white discoloration on the skin of the body, which does not appear, listen to this, family, which does not appear to be deeper than the skin, and the hairs in it has not turned white, the priest shall isolate the affected person for 7 days. On the 7th day, the priest shall examine him. If the affection has remained unchanged in color, and a disease has not spread on the skin, the priest shall isolate him another 7 days. On the 7th day, the priest shall examine him again. If the affection has faded and has not spread on the skin, the priest shall pronounce him clean. It is a rash. He shall wash his clothes, he shall be clean. But if the rash is spread out of his skin, and has, after he has presented himself to the priest and have been pronounced clean, he shall present himself again to the priest. And if the priest sees that the rash has spread on the skin, the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is leprosy. Here we go. I know that was a lot to digest right there, so I'm going to do my best to try to break this down. If you have a rash, an infection, or your hair is white on the surface, the Torah is telling you that is, you have to go to the priest to see if it's deeper. Meaning what? Certain wounds are superficial. Certain wounds are on the surface. Now, if you know anything about fruit, I used to do produce. When you have like an onion grows sprouts. When you grow sprouts, we are told to throw the onion away because it's no good. But you see the sprouts on the outside, but that was an internal decomposition. That thing was rotting from the outside. If you go into bananas, a banana can be bruised on the outside. The rest of the banana could be perfectly fine. We won't do anything with that. We'll just see if we can sell it. If not, then we throw it away. But when something is rotted, fruit rots from the outside, from the inside out. So you have to go deeper than what you see on the surface. But this is deep because it shows you just a glimpse into a little bit of understanding of the Creator. He is not judging things from what is on the outside, because Israel will look and see, man, rash, something wrong with Ak. Ak might have leprosy. You might have to get him up out of here. The Most High is teaching you, don't look at what's solely on the surface. Look deeper than that. But also, what the Most High said is, okay, you put him away for 7 days. If it doesn't spread, then it's not leprosy. If you put them away for 7 days and then later on it does spread, then you got to look deeper into the investigation. So here's what I take from that. When you look at anything, when you look at a vessel, when you look at an organization, let's take an organization for example. A lot of great things are taken down from the inside out. Israel is taken down from the inside out. The external stuff isn't really taking down Israel. See, in Christianity, you're taught there's a devil, there's this, there's that. There's all these opposing outside forces that's coming against you. But this is solely telling you, look from the inside in. Look from the inside out. When hair grows out of your body, and just to get back into the portion, it starts from a cell on the inside of your body and grows out. So when you see that the leprosy is deeper than the skin, you know it's actually an internal problem. It's not a problem that's just on the surface. So when that hair comes out and you see it's growing whiter and whiter and the patches are spreading and spreading and spreading on your skin, you're getting understanding that, no, this is deeper than what it looks. So the Most High is teaching us right now with this portion right here is really for the priest, because this will be a priest job. And it shows you one of the many tasks that the Levitical order had to take care of, as far as giving up offerings, giving oblations to the Most High, purifying the people, atoning for his sins, atoning for other people's sins. And he also was basically like our doctor. But make a long story short, this is showing you literally, and what I take from it, don't look at what's solely on the surface. And you can take this you can literally take this logic and apply it to anything. You can say, okay, look at this sister right there. Externally, everything is okay. Everything is fine. But what is she on the inside? And for the sisters, for the same way. You can look on it, okay, that brother, he looks okay. He looks fine. But internally, what is he on the inside? So what I'm taking from this is, I'm going to read it again and break it down line by line. Don't judge it from just solely what you see on the outside, because the outside appearance can be deceiving. You can see something that's not really there. And it also tells you on the second hand, sometimes you have to wait things out. Okay, it doesn't seem like it's leprosy. Give it some time. Let's see if it exposed. And that's the same thing our elders teach when the sister is courting the brother here. He seems okay. Give him some time and let's see what gets exposed out of this situation. She seems okay on the outside. She's putting on a good front. She looks perfectly fine on the outside. Give it some time and let's see what exposes itself. And that's when we can call it. You can't call it off first appearance. And this is the logic that Israel has to apply in everything, in every walk of life. Stop calling things off first appearance and look deeper into the situation. And that's what I take from it. That's why it was such a powerful portion. So I'm going to read it again, and hopefully I can connect these dots so you can get the same viewpoint or another viewpoint dissimilar to what I have. So I'm going to start 13 over, and it reads, and Yah spoke to Moshe and Aharon, saying, when a person on the skin of his body has a swelling, a rash, a discoloration that develops into a scaly affection on the skin of his body, it shall be reported to Aaron the priest, to one of his sons the priest. Now, this is to let you know, okay, we got the first sign, but let's check this one out. Let's see where this goes. Yo, Aaron, this dude got some stuff going on, or whoever the Kohanim would be at that time. You would sit and say, okay, this guy got something going on. Let's check this out right here. And then it reads, the priest shall examine the affection on the skin of his body. If the hair in the affected patch has turned white and the affection appeared to be deeper than the skin of his body, it is a leprous affection. So here we go. If the hair is white and it's deeper than the skin, so basically what's on the inside. Let's not just go with what we see face value. If it's deeper than the skin, if it's an internal thing, then it's leprosy. Well, let's read when it's not classified as leprosy. When the priest sees it, he shall pronounce him unclean. So now you are unclean if you are struck with leprosy. But if it is a white discoloration on the skin of the body, but does not appear to be deeper than the skin, okay, it's not what you thought it was externally, but it's not skin deep. So here we go right here, sisters. How many brothers have you passed on that he didn't have the greatest physique? He wasn't the pretty boy. He wasn't like me, a 6'4", charming, debonair guy. No jokes aside. He wasn't what you saw on the outside. But on the inside, he was better than you thought. And how many times did you think a brother was good on the outside, but on the inside, you looked at him and you was like, after you got to know him, hopefully you didn't surrender yourself to the brother when you get this information. You say, this dude is not what I thought he was. I thought he was this, I thought he was that. So the Most High is showing you, this is a microcosm of that. This is another example of that. We're just talking about leprosy, but you could really apply this logic anywhere. Because even when you go for a house, when you go look at a house, I looked at my house, on the outside, I said, oh, man, I just don't see it with this place. But when I went on the inside, I said, man, I could do something with this. This is nice right here. This is nice. I can move some stuff around. I could paint. I could change some stuff. This is okay right here. And it's the same way, vice versa. You can go look at a house and be like, man, they got everything good. It's this, it's that. It's nice on the outside. But on the inside, the electricity's messed up. The plumbing's messed up. The heat don't work. It's not well insulated. So this is another way, another form of the Most High telling you, but this is on a medical side. This is dealing with skin. We don't want to get off the point. The actual point is leprosy. I don't want y'all to go say, this is talking about houses and people. I'm making it practical for you when I'm talking about houses and people and relationships, because I understand our people are visual people. We need to see things in a different light. We always can't, we don't all have the ability to receive it the way it's jotted down on paper. So I don't want to just come and read it and talk about skin disease. And you may not relate to skin disease. You may not have a medical background like me, or you may not understand it on that level. So I like to reach the people, or praise to the Most High through his will, if it's his will, on a level that they can that they can get the understanding. And we all can understand houses. We all can understand relationships. We all can understand dealing with people, because a lot of the times we've judged situations solely of what we've seen on the outside and never took time to see what's on the inside. And that's the same situation that we're looking at now with this leprosy. It's about skin disease. It's about how we deal with it. I do not want to take away from that, and I don't want to get away from that point, because the portion is about leprosy. I'm going to say that again so you do not get a misunderstanding. The portion is about leprosy. However, to make it practical to you, I'm going to give you other examples and things that I think can spark something in your mind so you can actually relate to this. Because if I come and I just read about skin disease, I can be out of here in 20 minutes, and I don't think anybody would get anything from that. You follow what I'm saying? So all praise to the Most High. This is the way that, I was feeling driven to go, so I'm going to go about it this way, and hopefully we can all get understanding, because that's what it actually is. It's not about just reading it. You can read this by yourself. This is about getting understanding. It says, Torah teaches, get ye knowledge, get ye wisdom, but above all things, get ye understanding. So we're going to take this line by line real slow again. The priest shall examine the infection on the skin of the body of the head. The infection patch turns white, and the infection appears to be deeper than the skin of the body. It is a leprous infection. When the priest sees it, he shall pronounce him unclean. But if it is a white discoloration on the skin of his body, which does not appear to be deeper than the skin, and the hair in it has not turned white, the priest shall isolate the affected person for 7 days. On the 7th day, the priest shall examine him, and if the affection has remained unchanged in its color, and the disease has not spread on the skin, the priest shall isolate him another 7 days. This is doing due diligence. So hear me out real quick. We're going to go through this slow. He shall pronounce, this is starting from 13, verse 4. But if the discoloration of the skin of his body, which does not appear to be deeper than the skin. So, okay, you looking at this, it doesn't seem like it's deeper than the skin, but we don't know. We don't take chances. And that's another thing I want to get to. That's another point. You can't find yourself in a situation where you're going out on a limb for every little thing, because that can be to your own demise in this thing. Sometimes you have to be diligent. You have to wait things out to see what actually develops from it. You cannot sit there and just say, okay, well, it seems like it could be okay. Let me see how this, I'm going to give it a shot. That's not how you do things in Israel. There's an order, there's a structure to things. So, promise, I'm going to give you an example with this one right here. Matter of fact, I'm going to go on this. I'm not going to go to that one right there. I believe that one alone. So, it reads on this wise. On the seventh day, the priest shall examine him. So you set him up for 7 days. So now you're watching to see what becomes of this. You're not just saying, okay, it don't look like leprosy, let's go. Because that's also one of our downfalls. We can just be too accepting. We can just see something and say, yeah, I know it got a couple red flags, like that guy that you date, sisters, or that girl that you date, brothers. She got some red flags, but I think she cool on the inside. I'm going to give her a shot. Wait her out. And that's the same thing you see in here. You got a red flag, wait some more. You follow what I'm saying? Because 9 times out of 10, these things turn out to be something. So let's see how the Torah tells you to apply it when it's dealing with leprosy. On the 7th day, the priest shall examine him. And if the affection has remained unchanged, meaning it didn't get worse in color, and the disease has not spread on the skin, okay, it's not spreading, it didn't get worse. It's staying what it is. It was just a practicality again. Okay, that person just made a mistake. This isn't getting worse. They're not the worst person ever. They're not wicked. They made a mistake. It says this right here. Because I'm gonna always translate it to a person so you can understand it, to a relationship. The priest shall isolate him for another 7 days. You apply this to your relationship. Okay, I saw the first red flag and it's caught. It didn't get bad. The person is holding the course. Let's wait a little bit longer. Let's feel this one out. Let's see how this goes. Let's see where this goes, because this could just be you playing it. You follow what I'm saying? You could have caught yourself and still hiding who you really are. And that's the same thing you got to treat this leprosy with. So I'm going to take the leprosy and put it into humans and relationships so we can get some better understanding. On the 7th day, the priest shall examine him again. If the affection has faded and has not spread on the skin, the priest shall pronounce him clean. That's the same way. You watch this brother, you watch this sister. They made a mistake, because everybody that comes into this way may not have it all the way. What you tell them, you correct them. You sit there, you say, okay, I'm going to watch this again. Now I got to be mindful because they made their first mistake. The true them has really been shown. Let's see how far this really goes. Let's see if it's just a minor mistake, because nobody's perfect. Or let's see if this is really a wicked person on the inside, hiding their true feelings, hiding who they really are. And it says, after you waited out the period as pertaining to leprosy, the priest is going to pronounce you clean. So after you waited it out and you're seeing, okay, been a year out, this person, they holding true to form. I think I could move forward with this one, just to give you more practicality on that one. It is a rash. He shall wash his clothes, he shall be clean. But if the rash should spread on the skin after he has presented himself to the priest and has been pronounced clean, he shall present himself again to the priest. Now here we go, practicality again. Remember, this is leprosy. This is the example I'm giving you. You're dating somebody. They make a mistake. You're looking at them. We're not the dating sleek eye. You're courting somebody to be married, because we don't date in Israel. They make a mistake. They slip up. You sit and say, you know what? I seen something I didn't like. Let me watch this person. So some time goes by, times go by. They don't make the same mistake again. But however, later on, another red flag pops up. And this is what this is telling you. Another red flag pops up. Don't just be dismissive. Watch it again. The same diligence you watch the first red flag, watch the second one. Because one's a mistake, two's a trend. You follow what I'm saying? So this just may be this person's personality. They just may go long between their mess ups, or they could just be a wicked person. So you got to watch it. And that's the same logic we're applying with this leprosy. Okay, I said it was clean, but we watched them, and it got worse after I said it was clean. So let's see how you're supposed to handle that one right there. pronounced clean. If it is a rash, he shall wash his clothes, he shall be clean. But if the rash spread on the skin after he presented himself to the priest, and after he's pronounced clean, meaning after you screened the person, you see that it's still spread, he shall present himself again to the priest. And if the priest sees that the rash has spread on the skin, the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is a leprosy. So, whoa, Kozak, you're telling me that I can be cleared and then I can do something and it can pop up again and I can be unclean? Yes, that's what I'm telling you. And that's the same way I'm telling you with a relationship. Somebody could be cleared or vindicated of one thing and they can do something and still they can still be the person that you think they are as far as being nefarious or bad or wicked. They just hid that one, but later on it may come out and you got to treat them accordingly when you do find out the truth. Okay, so I was wrong the first time, but that doesn't mean this person is absolutely right. That doesn't mean this person is right for me. And that's the same logic you would apply with this leprosy back again, just giving you more practicality. So with the leprosy, even after the person has been pronounced clean, if they go back and they say, you know what, that's starting to spread. I thought it was just a simple rash in one location, one isolated area, but I look back and it went from your arm to down your arm to up your elbow. Now you got to sit up there and say, okay, no, it's really something up. They hit it well. It didn't show when I thought it would show, but this person really does have leprosy. They are unclean. So you have to go back and classify it correctly. When a person has a scaly affection, and it shall be reported to the priest. If the priest finds on the skin white swelling, which has turned some hair white, a patch of discolored flesh in the swelling, it is chronic leprosy, slika, on the skin of his body, and the priest shall pronounce him clean. He need not isolate him. He is unclean, for he is unclean. If the eruption spreads out over the skin so that it covers all the skin of the affected person from head to foot, wherever the priest can see, if the priest sees the eruption has covered the whole body, he shall pronounce the affected person clean. He is clean, and he has turned all white. But as soon as the undiscolored flesh appears in it, he shall be unclean. When the priest sees the slika, the undisclosed flesh, undiscolored flesh, he shall pronounce him unclean. The undiscolored flesh is unclean. It is leprosy. But if the undiscolored flesh again turns white, he shall come to the priest, and the priest shall examine him. If the affection has turned white, the priest shall pronounce the affected person clean. He is clean. Basically, I'll give it to you like this, make it really simple. If you have a cut, a scrape, a rash, certain things can just be limited to one area. If it's not spreading, if it's not deeper than the surface, then you could be pronounced clean. If it's deeper than the surface or begins to spread, then this person has more than likely leprosy, and you have to treat them accordingly. You have to shut them away for the 7 days and make sure that this person stays away from the camp. They have to stay outside of the camp where they can't be in contact with people. You're watching them, and then when they're finally cleared and they're purified, we're going to get to the purification rituals, then you can consider them clean. We're at 18, it reads, when there's an inflammation that appears on the skin of one's body and his head, in his heels, the white swelling or the white discoloration streak where red develops where the inflammation was, he shall present himself to the priest. If the priest finds that it appears lower than the rest of the skin, that the hair in it has turned white, the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is a leprous infection that has broken out in an inflammation. But if the priest finds that there is no white hair in it, it is not lower than the rest of the skin, and it is faded, the priest shall isolate him for 7 days. If it should spread in the skin, the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is an infection. But if the discoloration remains stationary, not having spread, it is a scar of inflammation. The priest shall pronounce him clean. So inflammation is basically like a bruise or a scratch or something being swollen. If it's deeper than the rest of the skin, then it's treated as leprosy. If it's not, then a person is clean. It's just an isolated thing. Because Israel will see you and they will blow things out of proportion. And they, oh, this guy, everybody has leprosy. Everybody has leprosy. They go leprosy crazy. So the Most High set in rules and parameters. But notice how he keeps going back to if it's deeper than this, if it's internal, if it's spreading. He's looking at more than what's just on the surface. He's looking past that. He's looking on the inside out. And that's how we have to start viewing people, from the inside out and not always the outside in. And it reads, when the skins on one body sustains a burn by fire, and the patch from the burn is discolored, whether white streak with red or white, the priest shall examine it. If some hair has turned white in discoloration, which itself appears to go deeper than the skin, it is leprosy that has broken out in the burn. The priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is a leprous affection. But if the priest finds there is no white hair in the discoloration, and that it is not lower than the rest of the skin, it is faded, and the priest shall isolate him for 7 days. And the reason why it's always referring to if it's deeper than the rest of the skin, if there's no white hair, because the cells from your hair begin inside of your body and grows outside. So when there's a problem, the indicator would be the hairs coming out of your body to show there's something deeper than what you can see. You follow what I'm saying? So when the hair starts growing out, it's going to be a telltale sign according to the Torah. This is where the problem is. It's a superficial issue or it's a deeper issue. It's skin deep or it's right there on the surface. So this is basically what it's telling you, but this is pertaining to if a person gets burnt. Sometimes you may get burnt and it may discolor your arm. You ever see people get burnt? Their skin may actually turn light from a 3rd degree burn or whatever degree burn they get, but that doesn't mean they have leprosy. But if it's deeper than the skin, then it's telling you that's not just a regular burn. That's leprosy. So that's just giving you some more insight on that right there. We're at 24 and it reads, when the skin on one's body sustains a burn by fire, sleek out. You're past that. But if the priest finds that there is no white hair in the discoloration and that it is lower than the rest of the skin, it is faded, and the priest shall isolate him for 7 days. On the 7th day, the priest shall examine him. If it is spread in the skin, the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is a leprous affection. But if it is discoloration, he has remained stationary, not having spread on the skin, it is faded, it is a swelling from the burn. The priest shall pronounce him clean, for it is a scar of the burn. If a man or woman has an affection on the head of her head or in the bed, the priest shall examine the affection. If it appears deeper, if it appears to go deeper than the skin, and then the thin yellow hair, and the priest shall pronounce him unclean. Once again, if it goes deeper than the skin, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean, because it's teaching you inside out. It tells you what's unclean, not outside in, because you can mask something on the outside. Something can look what it can appear to be something that it's not. It doesn't have to be as bad as it is, and something can be on the inside and you don't know the depths of how bad it is. So it's basically teaching you again inside out. When you think about leprosy, think inside out. If it's internal, if it's coming from the follicle, if it's coming from the hair itself, internally, leprosy. Superficial, not leprosy, unless it spreads, and that's a deeper part. We get into that later. If a man or woman has an affection on the head or in the beard, the priest shall examine the affection. If it appears to go deeper than the skin, there is thin yellow hair, and the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is a scaly eruption in the hair or beard. But if the priest finds the scale affection does not appear to go deeper than the skin, yet there is no black hair in it, the priest shall isolate the person with the scale affection for 7 days. On the 7th day, the priest shall examine the affection. If the scale has not spread and no yellow hair has appeared in it, the scale does not appear to go deeper than the skin, the person with the scale shall shave himself but without shaving the scale. So basically, you're going to shave yourself, but go around where the actual damage is. The priest shall isolate him for another 7 days. On the seventh day, the priest shall examine the scale. If the scale has not spread in the skin and does not appear to go deeper than the skin, the priest shall pronounce him clean. He shall wash his clothes. He shall be clean. If, however, the scale should spread in the skin, he has been pronounced clean. The priest shall examine him. If the scale has spread on the skin, the priest shall not look for the yellow hair. He is unclean. So if it spread, if the scale, the scar, or the discoloration has spread, you don't even have to look internally anymore, because if it's spreading, you know it's an internal problem. It's deeper than what it is. He is unclean. That's basically what it's telling you right there. But if the scale has remained unchanged in color, and the black hair has grown in it, the scale has healed, he is clean. The priest shall pronounce him clean. If a man or woman has the skin of his body streaked with white discoloration, and the priest shall see that the discoloration on the skin of the body are a dull white, it is a teeter broken out. It is a teeter broken out in the skin. He is clean. If a man loses the hair on his head and he becomes bald, he is clean. And that's another thing too. They don't want you to say if a guy's going bald, oh, this dude a leper, he got to be a leper, he's going bald. So some people just got the LeBron. Some people just got the George Jefferson with the roof out. Some people got the sunroof. So understand, every time you lose your hair, you're not a leper. I guess that was an epidemic back then, if the Most High had to clarify it. People might have been running wild with that one. If he loses the hair on the front part of his head and becomes bald at the forehead, he is clean, meaning guys like LeBron, George Jefferson, give me somebody else, Stephen A. Smith, you get with the pushback line, they would be considered clean. It's just that they just losing their hair in the front. No big deal. We ain't have Rogaine back in that day, so it just was what it was. But if a white affection streak appears on the bald part in the front or at the back of the head, and a scaly eruption that is spreading over the bald part in the front or the back of the head, the priest shall examine him. If the swollen affection on the bald part in the front of the back of the head of the white streak with red, like leprosy of the body, skin sleeka of the body skin in appearance, the man is leprous, he is unclean, the priest shall pronounce him unclean, he has an affection on his head. Basically, it's telling you, when you lose hair naturally, you will not be unclean. But if you have an infection, if you have scars, if you have just things that's abnormal, that's causing you to lose your hair, then you will be registered as unclean according to the priest. And it reads on this wise. As for the person with a leprous infection, his clothes shall be rent, his head shall be left bare. He shall cover his lip, he shall cover his upper lip, and he shall call out, unclean, unclean. He shall be unclean as long as a disease is on him. Being unclean, he shall dwell apart. His dwelling shall be outside of the camp. Meaning why? That's quarantine. When a person is sick, when a person has SARS or one of those diseases, they don't want you around everybody. You have to stay away from people. You can spread that. When an eruption of infection occurs in the clothes of wool or linen fiber, in the warp sleeka, or in the woof of the linen or the wool, or in the skin, in anything made of skin, if the infection, the sleeka, in the cloth or the skin, in the warp or the woof, or in the article of skin in streaky green or red, it is an eruptive affection. It shall be shown to the priest. The priest shall And the priest, after examining the affection, shall isolate the affected article for 7 days. On the seventh day, he shall examine the affection. If the affection has spread in the cloth, whether the warp or the woof or the skin, for whatever the purpose, the skin may be used. The affection is malignant, is a malignant eruption. It is unclean. The cloth, whether warp or woof or wool and linen, or any article of skin in which the affection is found, shall be burnt, for it is a malignant eruption. It shall be consumed by fire. I guess they don't want that contaminating people, quarrying or spreading. So you don't want somebody to have a piece of a linen or a garment that has, for lack of a better word, I'll give you another comparison. It has a type of mold on it or has something of that nature on it. You don't want that spreading to other garments. You don't want that spreading to other people. So you burn that to get rid of that. Certain things are just not, it's not recoupable. When they go bad, they go bad. I had a jean jacket that got wet about 15 years ago. I actually wore jean jackets. And I left it in the bathroom. And it just got so moldy. It just looked so gross, man. I didn't burn it, of course, but I just threw it away. Because when you have something like that within linen and within these garments, it's actually connected to the fibers. There's really no way to truly separate that right there. So the Most High is telling you, just discard it and burn it. Sleek at 35, the cloth, whether warp or woof or wool or linen, in the article of the skin in which the affection is found, shall be burnt, for it is a malignant eruption. It shall be consumed by fire. But if the priest sees that the affection in the cloth, whether warp or in the woof or in the article of the skin, has not spread, the priest shall order that the article be washed, and he shall isolate it for another 7 days. If after the affected article has been washed, the priest shall see that the affection has not changed the color and has not spread, it is unclean. It shall be consumed in fire. If it is a fret, whether here we go, on the inner side or the outer side, but if the priest sees that the affected part after it is washed is faded, he tears out, he shall tear it out from the cloth of the skin, whether in the woof or the woof. And if it occurs again in the cloth, whether in the woof or the woof, or any article of skin, it is a wild growth that has affected the article and may be consumed in fire. If, however, the affection appears from the cloth, warp or woof, or from the article of the skin that has been washed, it has been washed again. It shall be washed again, and it shall be clean. So this is the only condition in which you can keep that article. If, however, the affection disappears from the cloth, warp or woof, or from the article of the skin that has been washed, it shall be washed again, and it shall be clean. So make a long story short, it may not be a mold spot on your garment. It may not be something that's a growth that's contaminated or considered unclean by the characteristics of the Most High. May just be dirt. Could just be a stain. So you'll wash it. If it fades, you wash it again, then it's considered clean. But like I said, I'm gonna give you the example with my jean jacket again. Mold and things like that, they grow from the inside out. It's not just something that you take from the inside. Like a lot of the times when you have these things, they're more than surface deep. They get into the actual fiber of the stuff. Some people say that you can scrape off mold. But me personally, I'm one of the notion that you just remove the portion that has the mold when you have black mold, because scraping it off is only taking off what's on the surface. Removing it and getting rid of it all together and replastering it, that's the way that you actually have where you know it's where you got to also alleviate whatever's causing the mold in the basement. But it's just something for home improvement. I'm never one to just have them scrape it off, because these things grow deeper than what's on the surface. I would tell you to just replace the whole panel just to be on the safe side. And that's just an example of pertaining to what's going on here. So we at chapter 14 of Leviticus, hallelujah. And it reads, the Lord spoke to Moses saying, this is the ritual for a leper at the time he is to be clean. When it has been reported to the priest shall go outside the camp. If the priest sees that the leper has been healed of a scaly affection, the priest shall order 2 live clean birds, cedar wood, crimson stuff, hyssop, to be brought for him who is to be cleansed. The priest shall order one of the birds to be slaughtered over the fresh water in an earthen vessel, and he shall take the live bird along with the cedar wood and the crimson stuff and the hyssop, dip them together with the live bird on the blood of the bird that was slaughtered over the fresh water. He shall then sprinkle it 7 times on him who is to be cleansed of the eruption and cleanse him. He shall set the live bird free in the open country, and the one to be cleansed shall wash his clothes, shave off all his hair, and bathe in water, and then he shall be clean. After that he may enter the camp, but he must remain outside the tent 7 days. On the 7th day he shall shave off all his hair of his head, his beard, and his eyebrows. So basically, you're going with the Powder look. If you ever seen Powder the movie, or you're gonna be looking like Charlie Villanueva, one of those guys right there. When you try to purify yourself from the leprosy, and it reads on this wise: when he has shaved off all his hair, he shall wash his clothes and bathe his body in water, and then he shall be clean. On the 8th day, he shall take 2 male lambs without blemish, 1 ewe lamb in the first year without blemish, 3/10 of a measure of choice flour with oil mixed in a meal offering, and 1 log of oil. These shall be presented before Yah, with the man to be cleansed, at the entrance of the tent of meeting by the priest who has performed the cleansing. The priest shall take one of the male lambs and offer it with a log of oil as a guilt offering, and he shall elevate them as an elevation offering before Yah. The lamb shall be slaughtered at the spot in a sacred area, sleek out family, in the sacred area where the sin offerings are and the burnt offerings are slaughtered. For the guilt offerings, and that's another reason why we can't give offerings today. We don't have a sacred area consecrated to the Most High in the land of our captivity. This is a wicked place. The lamb shall be slaughtered at the spot in the sacred area where the sin offering and the burnt offering are slaughtered. For the guilt offering, like the sin offering, goes to the priest. It is most holy. The priest shall take some of the blood of the guilt offering, and the priest shall put it in the ridge of the ear of him who is being cleansed. So the priest will take the blood and put it on your ear of the person that's going to be cleansed. And on the thumb of the right hand and on the big toe of the right foot. So your right thumb here, I'm not going to show you my right big toe. So it's going to go on your ear, your right thumb, and your right big foot. And this is just showing you the Levitical rituals on what they had to do when they were cleansing someone of leprosy, just to let you know what's going on at this time frame. The priest shall take some of the blood of the guilt offering. The priest shall put it on the ridge of the ear of him that is being cleansed, on the thumb of the right hand, and on the big toe of the right foot. The priest shall then take some of the log of oil and pour it into the palm of the left hand, of his left hand, and the priest shall dip his right finger in oil that is in the palm of his left hand, and sprinkle some of the oil with his finger 7 times before Yah. So the priest would do this and sprinkle it 7 times before the Most High. And you better believe the way the Most High told him to do it, it had to be done, because the greater your responsibility in Israel, the greater your calling, the more consequences to what you do and when you err. So the priest couldn't go and be like, yeah, I guess left hand, do this. It had to be done to the T, to the nine, the way the Most High commanded this to be done. He didn't cut corners. He didn't say, I'm going to take my pinky and do this. He did it exactly how it reads in this book right here, the book of the law. The priest shall then take, sleek out. Some of the oil of his left some of the oil left in his palm shall be put by the priest on the ridge of the right ear, and on one of the one being cleansed, on the thumb of the right hand, on the big toe of the right foot. Over the blood of the guilt offering, the rest of the oil in his palm he shall put on the head of the one being cleansed, and the priest shall make expiation for him before Yah. The priest shall then offer the sin offering and make expiation or oblation, if you want another word, for the one being cleansed of his uncleanliness. Last, the burnt offering shall be slaughtered, and the priest shall offer the burnt offering and the meal offering on the altar. The priest shall make expiation or oblation for him, then he shall be clean. If, however, he is poor, if, however, he is poor and his means are insufficient, meaning he doesn't have enough money to bring 2 lambs. So the Most High understands that everybody in Israel wasn't in the same financial space. So he made leeway for those who didn't have as much. And the reason is why he shall take 1 male lamb for a guilt offering to be an elevation and an expiation for him, 1/10 of a measure of choice flour, oil, mixed in with a meal offering and a log of oil, 2 turtle doves or 2 pigeons, depending on his means. Basically saying, we understand everybody didn't have it back then. We're not like the church telling you got to give, no matter what. The Most High actually understood everybody wouldn't have been in the same space financially. The one to be a sin offering, the other to be a burnt offering. On the 8th day of his cleansing, he shall bring them to the priest at the entrance of the tent of meeting before Yah, and the priest shall take the lamb of the guilt offering on a log of oil and elevate them as an elevation offering before Yah. When the lamb of the guilt offering has been slaughtered, the priest shall take some of the blood of the guilt offering and put it on the ridge of the right ear. Putting it on your right ear, depending on how the computer's facing, it may be different for you. Of the one being cleansed, on the right thumb of the hand, and on the big toe of the right foot. And the priest shall then put some oil into the palm of his own left hand. So the priest will put oil in his left hand. And with the fingers of his right hand, the priest shall sprinkle some of the oil that is in the palm of his left hand 7 times before Yah. Some of the oil in the palm, in his palm, shall be put by the priest on the ridge of the right ear of the one being cleansed. So some of the oil, you sprinkle it 7 times, and some of the oil is put on the right ear of the person. I'm going crazy. I know my right from my left. Look at the computer. On the right ear of the one being cleansed. On the right thumb of the hand and on the right toe of the foot, over the same places as the blood. So they put the oil in the blood. In the guilt offering, what is left of the oil in his palm, the priest shall put on the head of the one being cleansed. So whatever's left in his palm, he puts it on the head of the one being cleansed to make expiation for him before Yah. He shall then offer 1 turtle dove or pigeon, depending on his means, whichever he can afford, the one as a sin offering, the other as a burnt offering, together with meal offerings. Thus the priest shall make expiation before Yah for the one being cleansed, such as the ritual for him who has a scaly infection and whose means for his for his cleansing are limited. We in 14, verse 33. Hallelujah. Slika. Yah spoke to Moshe and Aharon, when you enter the land of Canaan, and I give for you a possession, and not affected with an eruption, a plague upon the house, and the land you possess, and the owner of the house shall come and tell the priest, saying, something like a plague has appeared upon my house. The priest shall order the house be cleared before the priest enters and examine the plague, so that nothing in the house may become unclean. After that, the priest shall enter and examine the house. If, when he examines the plague of the walls of the house is found to consist of greenish or reddish streak, or appears to go deep into the walls. Once again, this is another common theme, more than what's on the surface. So we're going to see how this is taken. Deep into the walls, the priest shall come out of the house to the entrance of the house and close up the house for 7 days. When the house is shut down for 7 days. On the seventh day, the priest shall return. If he sees that the plague has spread in the walls of the house, the priest shall order the stones with the plague in them to be pulled and cast outside of the city into an unclean place. The priest shall scrape inside all and around the coating, and scrape off shall be dumped. All that is scraped off shall be dumped outside of the city in the unclean place. They shall take other stones and replace those stones with them, and take other coating and plaster the house. If the plague again breaks out in the house, after the stones have been pulled out, after the house has been scraped and replastered, the priest shall come and examine of the plague has spread, if the plague has spread in the house. It is a malignant eruption in the house. It is unclean. The house shall be torn down. Now, just give you another common, something to relate to right now. I worked for the gas company. We had a building that they used to train in. It had all type of molds and just, I don't even know what you want to call it on the walls. I don't know what you would classify that stuff as. And it literally was spread and spread and spread. They even had some jokes saying that you think the mold was moving while he was in the training center. And it ended up that the place was so bad, they just had to condemn it. But they had to tear it down a certain way. Well, they couldn't tear it down because it would spread black mold. They didn't want to actually pay for the proper way for it to be torn down. So they ended up selling the building and somebody else paid to have it torn down. But it's showing you sometimes things get so bad, you just can't recover from it. And that's in the case of the house. So even though you may say, oh man, I got this Canaanite house, man, joint was laced, 3 floors and all that, it looked good, but it wasn't fit for you to live in, because black mold and things of that nature can actually kill you when you expose yourself to it long enough. Now, we don't know if that's the same thing that this portion is talking about, but if we're looking at a comparative narrative, you can obviously see that in the instance, if you have black mold, it can literally cause lung disease, fluid in your lungs. You can do all type of things to you that's going to mess you up and take away from your longevity. And the Most High wants you to live clean. He wants you to be clean. So he wouldn't have you eat right, you live right, and you're in a house that's not fit to live in and it's killing you on the inside. So that house is to be torn down so nobody would ever go into it again. And it reads on this rise. Sliga. Whoever enters the house while it is closed up, he shall be unclean until the evening. Whoever sleeps in the house must wash his clothes. Whoever eats in the house must wash his clothes. If, however, the priest comes and sees that the plague has not spread in the house, after the house was replastered, and the priest shall pronounce the house clean, for the plague has healed. To purge the house, he shall take 2 birds, cedar wood, crimson stuff, hyssop. He shall slaughter 1 bird over the fresh water in an earthen vessel. He shall take the cedar wood of hyssop, the crimson stuff, and a live bird, dip them in the blood of the slaughtered bird in the fresh water, and sprinkle on the house 7 times, having purged the house of the blood of the bird, the fresh water of the live bird, the cedar wood, the hyssop, the crimson stuff. He shall set the live bird free outside the city in the open country. Thus he shall make expiation for the house, and it shall be clean. Such is the ritual for every eruption infection, for scales for eruption on the clothes or a house, for swelling, for rashes, or for discoloration, to determine when they are clean and when they are unclean and when they are clean. Such is the ritual concerning eruption. Hallelujah. Family, I hope you was able to get something for that. I know to some that may have been a difficult portion to go through if you don't have a extensive medical background, but what the best way I was able to make it relatable to you, all praise to the Most High for that, was just translating it and giving it to you in a modern lens, talking about relationships. In the same way we ought to treat that leprosy, where you can't really tell if it's leprosy from the outside in. You got to go inside out to tell if it's leprosy. That's the same way you can't really tell if that woman is the woman from you, from the outside in only. You can't tell if that man is the man for you if the outside in only. You can't tell if that house is the house for you from the outside in only. Certain times in our life, we have to look internally to see if this is really what it's made up to be. When an organization is taken down, as I said it before, they were taken down from the outside in. I'm speaking from the inside out. If you want to go to criminal organizations, BMF, the mafia, anything you have, the Black Panthers, which wasn't criminal. These organizations, you want to go to Malcolm X, you want to go to anybody, they were taken down from people close to them within the organization. That's why at Shema Yisrael, we run such a tight ship. We have order, structure, rank, and file, because we understand most of your enemies will come from the inside out, not the outside in. And with that, family, I want to bid you with a shalom. We're going to close out with a quick prayer. Give glory to this King. Hallelujah, hallelujah, praise the mighty Yah. We go Psalms 125. Those that trust in Yah shall be as Mount Zion, which cannot be removed but abideth forever. As a mountain surrounded by Jerusalem, so is Yah surrounded by his people. For henceforth, even forever. For the rod of the wicked shall not rest upon the life of the righteous, lest the righteous put forth their hands into iniquity. Do good, O Yah, to those that be good, and those that are upright in their heart. As for such as turn aside from their wicked ways, Yah shall lead them forth with the workers of iniquity, but peace shall be upon Yisrael. Hallelujah. O great King, we say, Torah Rabbah, thank you for everything that you've done for us. Thank you for the opportunity to expound before your people, for another day of life, another day amongst the living, another opportunity to make things right, another opportunity to win favor in your sight and win friends and influence others to a better way of life. I ask that you be with the elders of Shema Israel. I ask that you be with the brothers and sisters of Yeladim. I ask that you be with the stranger that returns their house, that joins the house of Israel. And I ask that you touch somebody, Father, that this message gets out to who you want it to get out to, that the understanding is the way you would have it to be broken down and given to the people at this time. And for the people who see it today, and for the people who will see it in the future, that it still rings out with the same message, and it still rings out correct, more importantly, Father, as you would have wanted to be distributed. And that is your words, and it's not my words, it's not any other brother's words, anybody else's interpretation. Only your word, only your way, Father. That we say hallelujah, hallelujah, praise the mighty Yah. Torah for your time, family. This was Torah portion Tazria, which is talking about leprosy, talking about purity. It's for purification, slika. When it's a woman, when she has a baby, just a brief summary, when a woman has a baby, a man-child, she's unclean for 40 days. When she has a female child, she's unclean for 80 days. That male child is to be circumcised on the 8th day. If you, with your wife, you are not to have sexual contact with her for those 40 days, because she is considered unclean for those 40 days. If it's a male child, and for that female child, she is considered unclean for those 80 days. You are not allowed to have sexual contact with her, just for edification purposes, as my man Moreh Yeshaya will always say. As far as the leprosy, we're looking at that from the inside out, not the outside in. That's how you judge that. And you're also looking to see if it spreads. And that's the way I would tell you to approach anything in life. Look at things from the inside out and not always the outside in, because the outside can give you a different appearance or could just be inaccurate. You can join us, family, to Most High willing, at Rev Shabbat prayer service tomorrow with one of our sisters, where they lead us in prayer and bring it into Shabbat. We have our Shabbat lessons 10:30 a.m. sharp on the Shabbat day. And we have our Torah portions every week, 7:30 on the fourth day of the week. I got to get away from saying the pagan days. I'm going to get the Hebrew days for you. But just for I'd say it this time, we on Thursdays. We have it on Thursdays for the people who may be watching for the first time. So you can join us then. Like, again, sleek out for the late time start, family. We had communication problems at the camp. We couldn't get things up and running there, so I had to come home and do it from my home. If you're watching this, I pray that you got the message that the Most High will have to give, and I pray that the Most High allowed me and touched me, and I didn't say anything outside of what he wanted you to have. And just one last thing, family. Serve the Most High alone, and I pray that you get something from this, and I pray that you find yourself in a space where you continue to watch Shema Yisrael and grow with us as a family, because I tell everybody, we all came across this channel for the same reason. The Most High calls you. But the question is, will you stick around? Will you be somebody who falls off? Or when you endure to the end, will you be a part of the remnant? Everybody comes across this channel the same way. The Most High calls you. The Most High puts it in you. The Most High shoots it across your screen. Nobody comes here by accident. Last but not least, family, as I always like to tell you, a well-organized lie will always beat disorganized truth. So we have to get organized. Hallelujah.